Hello everybody from Marrakesh, Morocco for this week's video on RYŌHŌ and the importance of practice, self-practice, sitting on the mat, turning in to the nature of your own being. Now, this is arguably the most important aspect of our practice. And I get the question quite often of, how is it that I can make maybe my Reiki practice more impactful on myself? How can I see more results? How can I impact my Reiki practice as a business? How can I make my business, more successful and so on? To me, the answer to that question, all of those questions, is simply how much are you turning into the self? How much are you sitting down on the mat and doing your practice? Now, of course, our practice should be daily, and the recitation of the precepts should be twice daily. Now, that doesn't mean that every single day, of course, that you're going to be able to do the practice. It doesn't mean that every single day you're never going to forget reciting your precepts. That's not the point. The point is the honesty and the sincerity within which you engage in your practice. Reiki becomes the nature of our life. It's not simply something that is relegated to the mat. And this is not unique to Reiki, by the way. So maybe many of you have a yoga background or a meditation background. It's the exact same thing in those practices as well. We hear that all the time, that yoga is not, for instance, about the depth of your asana on the mat. Rather, yoga is far more about the way you conduct your life off the mat, outside of the studio, outside of the gaze or the apparatus or the structure of the class. And Reiki is the same. So when we sit down on the mat or when we lay down on the table to engage in our own self-practice, what we are doing is working to unwind the suffering that we hold on to so that throughout the rest of the day, we can live Reiki, we can be Reiki, we can exist within the energy of the universe or Daikomyo. If we can do that, and if we do that diligently, if we do that honestly, like the precepts say, koyo dake wa gyō hagame, just for today, be diligent in your work or work honestly. What does that mean? That means that I'm going to sit down and do my practice because I'm going to sit down and do my practice. I'm not wanting an outcome. I'm not wanting results. I'm not waiting for a download or anything magical to happen. Indeed, it's the exact opposite. In reality, what I'm trying to do as I cultivate my practice is to be still. If I can be still, then I start to let go of the need for results. I start to let go of the need for outcome. I start to make peace with the nature of my being in this moment right now. If I can do that, then everything else falls into place. If you watched my video from last week about the idea of Reiki for abundance, that's what I'm talking about. The whole nature of the practice being something that if we exist right now, if we exist here in this moment right now at peace, then that means every subsequent moment in the future is yours to write. It means that you can glide into your trajectory into the future and make that whatever you wish. Because the universe cares not where the energy goes. The energy of the universe is abundant, it's infinite. So it is just waiting to be whatever it is you wish it to be. So why is it that so many people can be stuck? Why is it that our practice can suffer? Why is it that it took so long for my business, my Reiki practice, to get off the ground? Because I was attached, because I was suffering, because I'm still wanting outcome. I was demanding in my mind results. And here's the conundrum with the whole thing. We all need results. We need to have results, right? We need to see that we're doing something correct. We need to see that we're on the right path. If we take that from a business perspective, we might need to pay the bills. We might need to be in a position where we get enough clients to make the business viable, to make it continue, to allow it to continue. So what do we do then in that state? Well, we continue to do our self-practice. By continuing to do our self-practice, then we soften the need for the outcome. So for instance, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that you're brand new to your Reiki business. You're trying to get it off the ground. You're trying to launch it, and it's just not working out. You might be spending energy on coupons or promotions or making new courses or whatever it might be, but we're still affixed to the future, the outcome of the future. We're still fixating on the idea of this thing, and we're kind of spinning the wheels in the sand, as it were. However, maybe with more self-practice, maybe with sitting in silence, on the mat or on the table or however it is that you practice, maybe then the idea of a supporting temporary job, just as an example, becomes one that's not so daunting. Maybe it's an opportunity that, okay, well, that's what I'll do until the other thing takes shape, takes form, and continues to fly on its own. That's what I had to do. As I started my career with RootsofLife, at the very beginning, if you have seen a lot of my videos here on YouTube, I was talking about it. The very beginning, it was called Reiki and Meditation. Great. And then after that, it was brucechi.org. So 2 names of my business that I thought were super clever and super witty, and both of which were flopped. They both didn't get anywhere because I wasn't doing enough self-practice. I wasn't introspective and silent enough to let the real shape of what I needed to create and what I wanted to create take form. And there's only one way that happens. There's only one way that we can have the viability of those results, and that is by simply being in the practice. That is by embodying the nature of Reiki. That is by being Reiki. And by being Reiki, we have to recognize, in my opinion, that there is no practice of Reiki. We have to recognize that the nature of the self is fleeting. And we have to recognize that the real practice of Reiki is to simply be present with the nature of all things. Once we start to see that, then of course we come back to attachment. RootsofLife, for example, my website, my business, my Reiki practice, that's in form, that's an attachment, right? That's in form, it has shape, it is something that I put effort into, I work towards. So that's a form of attachment. And that's fine. That attachment is natural, it's normal. We live in the world of duality. This whole thing, this is duality right here, right? So it's not that we're trying to escape that and act like these things don't exist. What I mean is in the moment of our practice, we are still, to the best of our ability. If we are still in our nature of our practice, then everything that follows the practice will be less emotional, will be less tumultuous, will be less difficult. Even if incrementally so, it will still be less difficult. It will still be in deeper accordance with the precepts. Koyo dake wa ikaruna, koyo dake wa shinpai suna. The more that I am quiet on the mat, then less anger and less worry in everything that follows. So you see, if we sit down and do our practice, not with expectation, not with the desire to heal, not with the desire to heal other people, if we engage in our business, not with the desire to do anything except be present for the business, we first have to recognize that the practice is a moment for us to do nothing on the mat. If we do nothing on the mat and simply stay with the nature of our entire being, then anything that arises, we might start to recognize that that's a hindrance to our goals. If we can see that as a hindrance to the goals, then the practice gives us the space to let go of those things. And by letting go of those, then our outcome can actually be realized. And so here, a beautiful opportunity to sign off with the call to prayer from Marrakesh. I hope that this is an opportunity, a very significant opportunity, to do exactly what I'm talking about in this video. This call to prayer, an interruption in the busyness of the day to find stillness, to find peace. I really do hope that it's coming through in the microphone here. And if so, recognize that opportunity in yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video, everybody. I hope it helps with your practice. As always, thank you so much for the support of the video. Be well, and In Gassho to all.